الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله. أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله. حي على الصلاة. حي على الصلاة. حي على الفلاح. حي على الفلاح. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله.
إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستهديه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهدي الله فهو المهتد ومن يضلل فلا هادي له. وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له. وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. All praise is, was, and will always be to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We praise Him, we glorify Him, we seek His forgiveness. We bear witness that there is no Allah but Allah. That Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is the last of His prophets. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما. أما بعد. O you who believe, say what is true, say what is righteous, and be righteous towards Allah, and be God conscious. Allah will fix your deeds and He will forgive your sins, and whoever obeys Allah and His Prophet, for they have done a great good. I'm sorry, but I have to give the iqamah because I have a really important meeting I have to attend, and to be honest, I don't have the time to give the khutbah. So if you don't mind, we'll give the iqamah now, and forgive me. Did you see what just happened? For a minute, because you all have such mercy in your hearts, but you would have gotten up, and you could have beat me to death if it wasn't for our deen. You would have beat me to death for doing that. Similarly, that's what we do in our prayers. We come all the way, we make wudu. We stand before Allah, we have the audacity to say, Allahu Akbar, Allah is greater. It's superlative, it's not comparative. It's comparative, it's not superlative. You are greater than anything. Not you are the greatest, he is the greatest. But Akbar does not mean greatest. Al-Akbar means the greatest. Akbar means you are greater than whatever is in your life right now. We have the audacity to say that. And then we have the 3 modes of prayer. Cool dude. You have a cool way of stance. I'm not making fun of anyone. I'm making fun of myself before anyone else because I've went through these and I still go through them. And then we have the young professional. He has the shirt tucked in, so he doesn't want anything to be crumpled. So he prays the ruku' is just right, so you don't crumple the t-shirt or the shirt in the wrong places, so the blazer doesn't extend too much. And he moves swiftly so he can go to his meeting. And then you have boomerang uncle. The uncle that, mashallah, his joints are still working because he's been praying for 30 years. But the stance between the prayers is amazing. Sami Allahu liman hamida, power up, sujood. Allahu Akbar, power up, next sujood. We all go through these 3 modes. And the sisters as well. But this is exactly what we do. We go into prayer. Ma'alish Allah, I have to go. So, Qul Allahu Ahad, Allahu Samad, Allahu Akbar. Assalamu alaikum. This is exactly what we do with our prayers. It's exactly how we live our prayers. You felt disrespect because I wanted to leave. I'm a human and you're a human. Imagine what Allah thinks of you when you stand before Him, and this is how you treat Him. Every single prayer, sunnah, fard, alone, jama'ah, doesn't matter. This is how we always act. And me before any of you. I know we're walking through the stages of establishing the prayer, but today, because we're going to go for the holidays in the summer and some of you will not be here, so inshallah we'll continue this series when everybody is here. Today I just want to give a slight reminder of the importance and some pit stops in prayer before we leave, that maybe we can work on our prayers in this vacation while we're not here. There's a weak hadith, but it's sound. It's a weak hadith, but you can use it for this type of mu'aidah. The Prophet ﷺ, he said, Salli, فَإِنَّ فِي الصَّلَاةِ شِفَاء. Someone had a tummy ache and he told him, he said it to him in Persian. Do you have a tummy ache? He asked him in Persian, then he said, pray, for in prayer is shifa. This means 3 things. Number 1, it is a physical cure. Some of the movements in prayer are actually very good for you. This is not our main concern, but this is a reality. The second is spiritual. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, like I said before, just like some people believe in magic and they believe in the spells that they read in Harry Potter, we have spells that work. They are Rabbani spells. They are godly spells. They work. When you say La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah, it gives you the power. It stops mountains. It stops people of all powers, of all types, with all intentions, if Allah wants it to. In the end, you're not God. There is a God. There is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And you ask, and He, if He wills, and if He wants, and if He knows this is hikmah, this is the wise thing to do, He will give it to you. But you ask. We have these spells. They work. And so when you pray, even if you are ill, you feel a sense of shifa and you really start to get better. And most of you have heard these stories about people who had terminal diseases or whatever disease they have, and they pray and they just feel better. Or they get better with time. And the third, it's a moral shifa. It's a moral cleansing. You see, when you pray, if you don't keep on praying with Qul Allahu Ahad and Qul A'udhu Birabbin Nas, with all my respect, of course, these are cornerstones of our mushaf. But the Prophet ﷺ did not just pray with these. It's like when you go to Friday and the Imam always prays with Sabbah Isma Rabbika al-A'la wa hal atak hadith al-ghashiyah. The Prophet ﷺ, he prayed with all the Quran. Yes, he did increase of these on Fridays, but he prayed with all the Quran. Because you go into default mode right away of not focusing. This is human nature, guys. When you hear something over and over and over, you stop focusing. That's why they say in parental coaching, don't say the same things to your children over and over again for the same topic, whether it's good or bad. You have to change the style and the way and the method and the type and the place and the words you choose, or else in, out. The mind does not process it anymore. We look for novelty. Hence, look at all the novelty we have in our prayer. We have a jama'ah prayer. We have a singular prayer. We have sunan before and after. Sometimes the sunnahs are 4, sometimes 2. Sometimes before, sometimes after. We have askar. The askar after prayer for Maghrib and Fajr are different than those for the rest of the day. We have the morning askar, the evening askar. We have the whole Mus'haf to choose from. We have the prayer of Eid, of the small Eid. We have the Taraweeh. We have different Taraweeh. We have Witr. All of this change is for you to wake up. Now there's a change. And to process it. But you choose to keep it in default mode and keep on choosing the small surah. Not even choose one verse to repeat for a week that you can actually focus on. So in that is a moral change. When you keep on reading the Quran and you change the pages you're reading or the verses you're reading, it realigns you. You think about death, you think about the afterlife. You think about the future, you think about the meaning of things. You think about, are you doing things right or wrong? What does this mean that I'm ill right now? What does this mean that I'm broke right now? A little bit broke. What does this mean that I'm going through difficulty? That I'm having something good in my life? It realigns your focus. The Sahaba, when they used to have a test, they used to be happy. Because they were happy that Allah is cleansing them and elevating their grades. Two things at the same time. And they knew that what's to come is always good. Oh, listen, inna ma'al usri yusra. Allah gives difficulty, they gives easy. They knew what's coming is better than what I'm in right now. But they were happy. And when they used to have a blessing, they weren't sad or disappointed, but they were very wary. Because, first of all, they wondered, is Allah giving me this as a reward and as a rahmah? Or is it a way of luring me in? He's seeing me as a person who does not want Him, and so He's giving me a blessing because you don't want me? Allah, take what you can of life. Because when you pass away, you're really going to face hell. And so they were worried. And the second is because they knew that after it, there's a test. And they were afraid, will I be able to face this test properly and pass? Or will I fail in my test? You see how prayer is a cleansing. It's a physical cleansing. It's a true cleansing through the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And it's also, it realigns you. So life does not become about your broken bone, or the money that you lost, or the loved one that you lost. With all our respect, brothers and sisters, these are not easy things to go through, and I understand. They're not easy. But when you put it into perspective, into the bigger picture, in some way, it doesn't really matter. When you see that Allah is the one in control of all of this, and He's doing all of this, and He's moving all the puppets in the right place, in some way, there's someone in control. But all of this will not come if you don't pray properly. Now someone might ask, what does this have to do with prayer? Yani, what do all of these meanings have to do with prayer? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He said, وَاسْتَعِينُوا بِالصَّبْرِ وَالصَّلَاةِ. Evidence, Allah said sabr before prayer. He said patience before prayer. So don't tell me that everything is in prayer. We don't do tafsir. There are people who are scholars and they transmute it and they look at all the verses together. And they do tafsir of the Quran before anything else, and then the hadith, and then the Sahaba, etc. They said this particular verse means everything has an epitome. The epitome of fasting is breaking your fast and the reward. The epitome of being ill is to get better and to get the reward for being patient. The epitome of working and getting money is to give zakah, to give sadaqah, and to be independent and not need others. And to save money for the day that will come where you need to spend money, and so you will not need to turn to others, and then you can spend on those who cannot spend on them themselves. Everything has an epitome. That is the sabr of things. Where you are patient to see the reward of that thing ahead when you reach its climax. The same with prayer. Prayer has a climax. And that is the sabr that they are referring to when Allah says, وَاسْتَعِينُوا بِالصَّبْرِ وَالصَّلَاةِ. What is the climax of prayer? It's khushu'. It's to be in awe of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's to understand and feel when you are in prayer that the whole world has stopped. That everything only has meaning through this. Everything I do in my life is because and for this. I'm good to people because of this. من أحب لله وأكره لله وأعطى لله ومنع لله فقد استكمل إيمانه. Whoever loves people for the sake of Allah and hates certain people for the sake of Allah and gives for the sake of Allah and does not give for the sake of Allah, his iman is complete. This will not come through someone who prays and they are not in awe of Allah when they are praying, who understands the meaning of prayer. The Prophet ﷺ, he said, إِنَّ أَوَّلَ مَا يُرْفَعْ فِي أُمَّتِي الْخُشُوعِ حَتَّى يَدْخُلْ الرَّجُلُ الْمَسْجِدِ وَلَا يَجِدُ خَاشِعًا وَاحِدًا. The first thing that will be elevated from this ummah is khushu', is awe of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So, such that a person will walk into a masjid, they will not find one person who is khasha' lillah. Now the scholars comment on this and they say it has two meanings. It means that their outwardly form says that they are not thinking about Allah, they're thinking about anything else other than Allah. But it also means that even when they perfect the outer form, their hearts do not understand why are they perfecting the form like this. So they will push themselves to be slow in their prayer, but inside they do not understand what does this mean. They do not try to understand. They do not try to research it. They will read an article, 10,000 words long. They will read a dissertation. They will read many references to cite their paper, but they will not once on a weekend for 10 minutes search what are the du'as I can say between ruku' and sujood, or between the two rak'ahs, and what does it mean? They will not once take the time out to take out their phone in their sunnah and read the du'a of the ruku' so they can change it. You know that thing when you walk into a masjid and people, it's like, some people actually hate now to pray in a masjid because they walk in and people push them to be as fast as they can. And that you're hearing people, they move so quick, so swiftly, and the noises, the rubbing of the jeans, the rubbing of the shoulders, this, that, there is no khushu'. There is no khushu'. This is sabr. This is how you reach to the epitome of prayer. But why would we do this? Why would we do this except if you have a vision of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? وَإِنَّهَا لَكَبِيرَةً إِلَّا عَلَى الْخَاشِعِينَ. It is a vast manner except for those who have khushu'. Who are those? But Allah gave a characteristic of these people. They're not people who have a lot of money. They're not people who don't have a lot of money. So Uthman or Bilal. They're not people who are very strong. Umar. They're not people who are weak. Mu'adh ibn Jabal. No. الذين يظنون أنهم ملاقو ربهم وأنهم إليه راجعون. They are those, dhan here by the way, because dhan in Arabic can mean several meanings. Just like ummah means several meanings, just like deen in Arabic has several meanings, dhan has several meanings. One of the meanings of dhan is certainty. Certainty. There's doubt all the way to certainty. In this verse it means certain. Those who are certain that they will meet their Lord. وَأَنَّهُمْ إِلَيْهِ رَاجِعُونَ. That they are returning to Him. Because they are certain of this, in every single prayer, they know that they are standing before Him. And they know that they are now returning and they are reprimanding themselves for the deeds they did and they didn't do between each prayer. Yani anta, when you pray Asr, after a few hours inshallah, you should stand and say, I don't know if Allah is going to accept this, because between here and now, between now and Dhuhr, I did a few things, Ya Rabb, forgive me. And I did a few other things, I could have done better. And I did a few other good things, I don't know if Allah has accepted them. And I did them, and I don't know if I was 100% sincere. They know. So when they stand, they know who they are standing before. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر لي ولكم فاستغفروه إنه غفور رحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلي وسلم على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم أجمعين. All of our social problems, brothers and sisters, all of them come from not establishing the prayer. Because we don't establish the prayer, we don't respect our elderlies properly. Yeah, outward respect, uncle, sheikh, but we don't really respect them. We don't really look at the elder person and say, he must be better than I am. Because he lived more than I did, he did more deeds than I did. We don't really respect those who are younger than we are. We don't look at them and say, they must be better than I am. I lived longer, I did more sins than he did. So he must have a pure page. He must have a pure sahifa in front of Allah. We don't look at each other and say, he must be better than I am. Because I know my sins. I know my browsing history very well. I know my history very well. But I don't know his history. You must be better than I am. All of our social problems come from this idea of not establishing the prayer properly. And all of our problems with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala come also from this same thing. Allah gives us, there's so many verses in the Quran that mentions prayer, but I'm going to mention only 3 of them. Just to give you what Allah gives us prayer, and then He says what the outcome of prayer is. He says, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم حافظوا على الصلوات والصلاة الوسطى وقوموا لله قانتين. Be vigilant of the prayers and of the middle prayer. 2 tafsirs means asr, or the best way of praying. Not too long, not too short, not too fast, not too slow. وَقُومُوا اللَّهِ قَانِتِينَ. And stand before your Lord devout to Him. He says if you pray properly, you will be devout. You'll be a person who, your whole life is for Allah. It starts with prayer. It doesn't start with the Quran. We have a lot of hafadah, by the way. We have a lot of hafadah. But you would not stand 2 minutes with them alone. You would not want to travel with them. You cannot trust them with your money, with your amana, with your ird, with how they speak about you behind your back. It doesn't start with the Quran. It starts with prayer. Second verse, وَأَقِيمُوا الصَّلَاةَ وَآتُوا الزَّكَاةَ وَمَا تُقَدِّمُوا لِأَنفُسِكُم مِّنْ خَيْرٍ تَجِدُوهُ عِندَ اللَّهِ إِنَّ اللَّهَ بِمَا تَعْمَلُونَ بَصِيرٌ. Establish the prayer and give. Ata is to give something, for something to come easily. Ja'a is for something to come with difficulty. Allah says, وَآتُوا الزَّكَاةَ. You go and give it. مش أعطوا. And don't wait till someone comes and asks for it. You go, you search, and you give it easily. Easily with heart and easily physically. Make it something beautified and something that you love to do. And there's nothing that you do for yourselves except that Allah will give you a word for it. Allah is knowing of all what you do. He's seeing all what you do. This ideology where you feel that Allah is seeing you in every single moment of your day and your life will not come if you do not establish the prayer. There are some people who are very vigilant about not littering when people see them amongst their family because they want to be a good example for the kids, for my cousins, for whatever. As when they're alone, they can litter. They can have a small look here and there. And there are some people alone with people, doesn't matter. It's the same everywhere. They have only one person in their mind, only one surveillance camera that they know is always on. And the third, وَالَّذِينَ اسْتَجَابُوا لِرَبِّهِمْ وَأَقَامُوا الصَّلَاةَ وَأَمْرُهُمْ شُورَى بَيْنَهُمْ وَمِمَّا رَزَقْنَاهُمْ يُنْفِقُونَ. And those who have established the prayer, those who have answered the call of their Lord, and they established the prayer, and their affair is mutual consultation amongst them. You know how we always say Islamic states can never be, or Muslim countries can never be democratic? Forget about the Western definition of what democracy is. There's a Western view of democracy, and there's a very Islamic way of being democratic. Uthman ibn Affan was democratic. Uthman ibn Affan let women give their votes if he should be the Khalifa or not. Before women were given rights to vote in this country or in any other Western country, millennia ago. He sent people to their homes and asked them, who do you want to be the ruler? Mish, he let them go and stand in a standing pole. He would send people to their homes and ask them, who do you want to be the ruler? That's not my point. But we never decide on anything. We always have shuhna. We always have this way of wanting to be better. It's my madhab, it's my way, it's my mosque, it's my... Based on what? Because we don't pray properly. Or because we don't pray properly, we don't do the actions properly, they don't have the right effect on our hearts, and so when we deal with each other, we deal with each other's type of animosity. I walked into a mosque in Ramadan, I had a mini depression in Ramadan. I walked into a mosque, the adhan was calling, and nobody called the adhan. I waited 1, 2, 3, 4, 10 minutes. So I gave the adhan. Sheikh comes out, he says, brother, we're having iftar at the back. Come with us. I said, the adhan is calling. Nobody gave the adhan. He said, no, we don't give the adhan like this. We eat, and then we give the adhan, and then we pray. Because the Prophet used to eat before he prays. I said, the Prophet used to eat. The Prophet used to eat 1 or 2 dates while the adhan is being given, and then they would pray. There wasn't even a waiting time between the adhan and the prayer. He said, no. This is whatever madhab, and he started giving evidence. Yani the whole world is wrong and he is right. But he has no way of even discussing it. He's a wonderful person. Akhlaq is amazing. But this idea of mutual consent or mutual consultation amongst us is not there. We will not even discuss things. It's my way or the highway. Get out of my mosque if you don't like it. Why? Because we don't pray properly. And with this, practical steps. Practical steps. In your vacation, you have all the time. I won't even say every day, every week. Just read a dua, something that will make you closer to Allah. Read what you should read between the prayers. When you're saying Subhanallah, is it only Subhanallah al-Azim? We have Subhanallah al-Azim, Subhanallah bihamdi, Subhanallah al-Azim. We have Subhan al-Malik al-Quddus, Rabb al-Malaikati wa-Ruh. Subhan the King, the one that's purified, the Lord of all of the angels and of Jibreel. We have Sajada laka sam'i, sajadtu laka wa amantu bik, wa aslamtu ilayk, sajada laka wajhi, wa sam'i wa basari, wa azmi wa asabi wa mukhi. I have become Muslim before you. I have believed before you. I have put myself in ruku'ah for you. Everything in my body has turned to you. My eyes, my sight, my brain, my nerves and my bones, everything is towards you. And then Sami Allahu liman hamida. Rabbana wa lakal hamd. Hamdan tayyiban mubarakan fi. من السماوات والأرض وما بينهما ومن ما شئت أهل الثناء والمجد أنت كما أثنيت على نفسك لا أحصي الثناء عليك اللهم لا مانع لما أعطيت ولا معطي لما منعت ولا ينفع ذا الجد منك الجد. You can't say the whole thing, say 2 parts of it. Sami Allah liman hamida. All praises to you, as much as the heavens and the earth and what's between them, and as much as what you want. You are the only one deserving of praise and of glory. You are as you praise yourself. I cannot praise you as much as you deserve to be praised. Allahumma lamma. There is no giving for whom you deprived, and there is no deprivation for whom you have given. وَلَا يَنْفَذَ الْجَدْ. And Jad cannot help anyone. From you is the Jad. Jad means the power of money, the power of family, and the power of resources. You're saying to Allah, all of these have no power. I can have all of this power without having them. You are the one who gives this power. It's very different, isn't it? It's very different. And you need time now to say these things, to enjoy these things. Give yourself the time to enjoy prayer, just like we give ourselves the time to enjoy our family and our friends' gatherings. Apologies if I took too much time. I wanted to make a point because I think we should all work towards this summer to having a prayer that is slightly better, just 1 degree better. You know the 1% rule? 1% rule. If you're 1% better every day, at the end of the year, you'll be 365% better than you were at the beginning of the year. Just 1% better. You don't have to be better, the whole prayer is better. Just your Allahu Akbar is a bit slower this time. Your Fatiha has a bit more concentration this time. The dua of istiftah, when you open your prayer, has a bit more khushu' in it this time. Take a deep breath. Tama'nina. Tama'nina is when you come between the two, between the milestones of prayer. A person would look at you, they wouldn't know what's your next move. Yeah, when you say Sami Allah min hamida, if somebody were to just walk in, they would not know which phase are you in prayer exactly. Because you're taking your time. Sami Allah min hamida, you can tell they're going to move. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر لكم واستغفرون الغفور الرحيم. اللهم إنك عفو كريم وتحب العفو فاعف عنا. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. رب أعني يا رب على ذكرك وشكرك وحسن عبادتك يا رب العالمين وأقم الصلاة إن الصلاة تنهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر ولذكر الله أكبر والله يعلم ما تصنعون. أنا أقيم
الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله